Welcome to another Love Lessons episode where we talk about what we've learned and how we've grown in love and relationships. On this show, we are going to talk about what it takes to build a healthy, sustainable, resilient relationship. What it takes for you to get and stay in a healthy relationships. Stick around for the whole show so that you can hear our love stories and our love lessons. Some are personal stories, but others are submitted from guests. Again, thank you for tuning in to another Love Lessons podcast with the Hesters. Okay, so last week we talked about the definition of real love. So we can quickly do a recap on that. Mr. Hester, we're talking about what real love is, because if you never know what real love is, or you don't really know, you're just going based on your experience and what you've heard. If you haven't really heard what real love is, then it's hard to identify it. So I think it's important for us to recap what real love is, and then we'll start talking about fake love and how to identify that. So what is it, Mr. Hester?
As we stated from last week, as we were reviewing, I shared a verse from 1 Corinthians 13, chapter 4 through 8. And it says, love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It does not dishonor others. It is not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no records of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with the truth. It always protects, always trusts, always hopes, always perseveres. Love never fails. Okay, so one thing I want to throw in here too. This verse right here is a very, 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 very helpful gauge and guide as to what you might be experiencing in your own relationships. If you are experiencing anything in your relationships that contradicts what this verse says love is, then you have what you're observing as a false or fake love. The scripture makes it very plain what love looks like. And I'll pass it back over to my beautiful, lovely wife.
Okay, so let's get into, just to make it extremely plain, because I know some people, when it comes to the Bible, even though I think it is the source, a lot of times we just need to make it real plain how to identify stuff in our everyday life. So that being said, if someone is being fake, here's one thing, and I just posted, well, I was going to post it to my story, so I just got to remember to post this to my story on Instagram. If you're listening on the actual podcast, follow me at More and You Coach, and I'm going to post this. But fake love only wants what it wants. So we talked about that last time, so I'm not going to get into it too much this time. Fake love also gives because it wants something in return. So if somebody is giving to you, and it feels kind of weird, like, why are they giving me so much too soon? When you're giving too much too soon, then that means that they are actually trying to get something from you, or it's definitely a red flag. Another one is, like, say you do something accidentally, unintentionally, and they're trying to get back at you, and you know they're trying to get back at you. That's not love. So somebody that's really coming for your neck, that is definitely not love. That's fake love. Some people feel like, oh, that means that they care about me and they're really in love with me, because a person that don't care that much, they wouldn't even do all that. No, if a person really loves you to the extent that you really deserve to be loved, they are not going to be seeking to ruin your entire life because you did something to hurt them. Another thing would be a red flag to look for. They try to change you into their perfect ideal. And I don't know, did we talk about this the last time much, about trying to change somebody into the perfect ideal?
Mm-hmm.
So those that they bring up their exes and they start comparing you between the exes, like, well, my ex did this and my ex did that. That is an indication that it's fake love.
But they're still an ex for a reason, though. So.
They're an ex for a reason. Has anybody ever did that to you?
Sure.
Where they kept bringing that?
Yeah, and that was my response. But I was like, okay, well, if your ex did A, B, and C, then why are they your ex? So
that shut it down?
That just turned it, it turned into another conversation. But I guess for me, when it comes to relationships, I'm very practical. And I don't leave a lot of gray area. So, for me, that was just a common sense question. If they're your ex, if they did all this stuff, then why are they your ex? But what it did, but questions like that and responses like that, or issues like that, I found, earlier on, that when you confront people that way, it forces them to look in the mirror. And most people don't like looking in the mirror because they don't like what they see. And so that conversation kind of turned into something else. So, when it comes to talk about getting into relationships and things of that nature, there's definitely a healing aspect that needs to take place first. Because we are actually, and I won't get off topic, but actually, if you really think about it, there are things and issues that we're dealing with since the womb that were passed from our parents. So making sure you're healthy and whole to even have those hard conversations when it comes to maintaining meaningful relationships is necessary.
So just to kind of bring it back in, and we're definitely going to talk about that in one of the future podcast recordings, but if a person is trying to change you into their ideal, then that is an indicator that they need to be healed. Mm-hmm. So if they have something in mind of, you need to be this way and do this and act like this and look like this and make me feel like this, then that's an indicator that they are not ready for a relationship. And that's why I love going on live, because my BFF actually also contributed, saying exes should never be a factor. And there are experiences that are in the past. So they should be leaving that in the past. So if they're bringing that into your current situation, then that is a key factor in your decision making when you're trying to figure out, is this real or is this fake? Another one, and I know we didn't go over it last time, in depth, and we probably don't have to dig. We probably don't have time to dig, but when it comes to intimacy and love, I know this is something that we really don't, it seems like it's taboo to talk about back in the day. I don't know so much now, but that intimacy and love, if it's fake love, it's just sex. So if you feel like somebody is disconnected in that particular area, then that means that's a key, like that's a red flag. I'm going to start saying red flag. These are basically red flags that, one, they're just not that into you. And then on top of that, they may also need some healing work. They're just not ready for true love if they're not able to connect in that way. And you can feel that disconnect. One, I think I talked about briefly, you shouldn't, I would not recommend doing that before marriage, because it opens up so many things. And we got to do a whole recording on that because that would take a while. So I'm going to move on from that one. Trying to prove that you're right. I feel like we talked about this one a little bit. Fake love, when you get into a disagreement, we talked about that the last time. So listen to the last recording. Harbors resentment. If you are with someone that keeps bringing up old stuff, that's a red flag.
Can I interject something? When you're in a relationship, and it gets to the point, okay, let me say this. If you're married and it gets to the point where there's resentment, there needs to be some emergency intervention, done immediately. Resentment is that last step before somebody's out the door. But if you're in a relationship that you get to the point where resentment there, because there's some other things that have taken place before resentment steps in. There's some other things that have happened. When you get to the level of resentment and you're in a relationship and you're not married, y'all might, if you don't want to stay together, you might want to consider counseling of that nature. But in all honesty, you get to the point of resentment and you're not married, you might be looking at the end. And I'll, just be honest, you might be looking at the end. Because it's gotten crucial.
Yeah. If every argument they bring up something that you're not even arguing about, that's a red flag that they may not be able to get over that thing that they said that they forgave you for. Another red flag, we're going to do two more briefly. One is that they're also controlling. So if you ever sense that they really are trying to control what you do, how you do it, when you do it, where you do it, things like that, then that's an indicator that that's fake love, because they're trying to indicate to you, no, I am so passionate about this because I care about you. It's because if I didn't care, I wouldn't even say anything. If you've heard things like that, that's not the real deal. That's not the real deal at all. The last one we're going to talk about today, before we get into the love stories, because it's always fun to make this practical. Let's share what we've been through. Is that when you are communicating, fake love is only going to talk. It's not really going to listen and actively listen to you and how you feel and actually respond to you. It's just wanting you to do that for them. Because I don't know how many of you really enjoy when somebody listens to you. Like when you really feel heard, you like, I feel better now. So a lot of times if you're in a situation that's one-sided, then it's definitely what you would call a fake love kind of situation. So this time we were able to get through everything. So we're going to, okay. So it's time for the love story portion. And this is one of my favorite parts, because the love lesson is definitely my favorite part. But the love story, what comes to mind for me, this is where I feel like I was duped, I was bamboozled, I was fooled when someone gave me too much too soon. I really thought oh, he is the first guy that I feel like he is really feeling me, like I am the one, because why would he be doing all this if he didn't really like me like that? And then he was doing so much to where I felt like, oh, this might be the man of my dreams, because he's like all the things. So when it comes to, he's laughing because I say he does all the things. So this one is real. But he definitely, I wouldn't say it was just a different situation as far as too much too soon. Because this particular guy that I'm thinking about, I think he was offering to pay bills, take me out and wherever I wanted to go, buy me whatever I wanted. In my situation, I was divorced and I had children. So he was also offering to support when it comes to that. Even if I think there was a time I was having problems with one of them at school. It was basically whatever came up. You need me to do this, you need me to do that. I'll be there, I'll do it. And I'm like, wow, you willing to clean up? Ladies, we love that.
What?
Yeah, he's cleaning up my daughter's room. Yeah, it was bad. Her room was horrible. So I'm really feeling like he must really love me, because he is going all in. But what I realized is that there was something that he wanted in return. So he was putting money in the bank, basically, and stacking up, investing in me. So then that way, when he got ready to pull, let me hold $20, that kind of stuff, then that's when I was more than willing to do it, even though I felt uneasy about it, because this one has never asked to borrow nothing, $5, a nickel, nothing. when we're in that, that courting phase or whatever. Never, ever. So this one, he felt like since he had done all of those things, that I felt like, well, you did that out the kindness of your heart, right? You're not even expecting anything in return. He actually was expecting something in return, because he felt like, I scratch your back, you scratch mine. So that was like a red flag that I totally missed. I thought it was like, oh, this might be the man of my dreams, because that's what he was feeding me basically the entire time. Like, girl, you don't want to miss out on your blessing, and don't let them get you caught up if you are in the church, because I know everybody's not, but if you are in the church and you're dealing with somebody that's also in the church, that does not make them exempt from trying to play you or trying to manipulate you in one way or another. So that was like one of my stories, as far as when I thought like this is real, and it wasn't, not even a little bit.
I don't have any things that really come to mind right now, but I will say, whether you're quote unquote in the church or not, one of the things that's I think is key, and you can save yourself a lot of heartache and disappointment, is the importance of real discernment. Like my wife just said, he was doing all these things, but something in her, she said something in her just did not feel right. And when it comes to relationships, when it comes to attraction, when it comes to feelings, when attraction comes into play and when emotions come into play, it's real easy to ignore the obvious. Some things are just right up front in your face, and it makes you feel uneasy. But if you've been like me, those things that have made you uneasy, you've dismissed for whatever reason. So I would encourage you to really, really practice discernment when it comes to choosing relationships, even in friendships. It doesn't necessarily have to be something that's romantic, even in friendships, because you have a lot of individuals who have a lot of issues and are really out for self. So I would just encourage you to use discernment and be careful. Guard your heart, for from it flows the issues of life.
I wanted to take a moment to tell you how excited I am to have a podcast. I finally have a podcast, and that was because of Anchor. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. For one, it's free. They have creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. So it's really easy. And on top of that, it will get your podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and so many more. Many that I hadn't even heard of before Anchor. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. So you don't have to build up this huge audience first. It's everything you need to make a podcast in one spot. So what I need you to do is download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started with your own podcast, because you have a purpose and you have a voice that someone's waiting to hear.
When we actually are talking about the love lesson today, I want to talk about what discernment means, because I think a lot of times people say, I got a feeling, I just got that feeling, but they don't really know what that feeling is. They don't really know how to decipher whether they need to listen to it or whether they're just being, nervous from past experiences. So I think it's important for, if you are thinking about this, like, I'm really not sure. Maybe this person really is in love with me. Maybe I've just been hurt in the past. I don't really know the difference between whether they actually love me or it's actual fake love. So let's talk about what discernment means. What's discernment?
I'll put it to you this way, because I know we may have some that are believers and some that are not, and that's fine. I'll explain discernment this way. It is the ability to assess a situation or a person accurately, and in many cases, based on limited information. I'll give you an example. Try to look for an example. Many of you, I'll say this, many of you probably exercise discernment and don't even know it. You know when you're being lied to. You know when that dude is lying to you. And especially ladies, you know, I will say discernment is in practice when you hearing this dude give you this story and y'all do this. Mm-hmm. That's you practicing discernment, like, yeah, right. Guys, we do it too. Yeah, right. You know, that's a form of being discerning. Not knowing the whole situation, not being there when the individual is telling you what happened, but what they're telling you doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up, and you're able to reason well enough to where you're practicing discernment to know that something isn't right, something is off. This person isn't being fully forthcoming with information. So at that very moment, I would say that you have a decision to make right there. So now you know what you're dealing with. Okay, so now I know they'll lie to me. So now what do you do?
Yeah, that story that I told, that brief story that I told, I really didn't tell the whole thing. It just reminded me of the fact that I was discerning, but I chose not to listen to myself. So the first conversation that I had with that particular person, I got player vibes. Like, that was just what I was feeling like. He's a player, right? But I was like, I'm gonna talk to him anyway, because I'm not gonna get all that into him. Like, that's, I'm gonna do this for fun. I'm gonna do this for sports. So I don't have really much going on right now, and I'm not necessarily looking for something that's serious. If it becomes serious, oh well, but don't play with fire because you just might get burnt. And I definitely did experience some consequences for playing with that. My feelings really did end up getting hurt, but I didn't think that I would have developed feelings for this particular guy. But I definitely felt like, okay, he's fake, like at the very beginning. And that is the worst. Whereas for females, I don't know if guys experience this, but for females, when you meet somebody and you're like, this is not somebody I would ever even want to, that I would ever give a real chance to. But then they say things, because females, we respond to what we hear. So they say things that actually make you start fantasizing about what this relationship could be like. I still remember the thing, girl, you could be missing out on your blessing. And it sounds goofy, but it was like, in hindsight, it's 2020, but like, I was thinking, like, am I missing it? Like, is this, could this be it? I don't know. So I started questioning my discernment, basically. So my initial judgment, your first mind is your right mind. My initial thoughts about him was he's a player. Turns out that's exactly what he was doing. He already had, he had basically had free time on his hands because he had broke up with an ex from like a long-term ex, about 5 years or something. They was in a relationship or whatever. So he had free time on his hands. And then he decided to get something started with me, and then went right back to what he was doing before, so he just was kind of juggling both of us. And I'm thinking, because he had invested in me, that I was going, that I was experiencing some level of love just because he said the words. So the lesson in that was definitely to listen to the spirit within me, because the spirit told me
what is that wasn't from you?
What was he trying to get? He was just trying to get somebody to be there. He's trying to get support.
Oh, okay.
So whether it was emotional support, whether it was financial support, what's another type of support? Like anything that he could get that would be convenient for him, if that makes sense. Like different things that females, what is it that guys want?
So he needed to be validated.
Sort of. But I think, I don't know if you could have a real moment and say what some guys that are not being true Christians, what is it that they want?
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, you're not going to spell it out?
Nope.
Okay. So he's not going to spell it out. But basically, yeah, basically he wanted everything that he can get, that typical guy.
He wanted marital privileges without a covenant.
Right. But it would be like, it would be a marital privileges, but then
Husband
you don't.
privileges.
Husband privileges, but with, what is he giving? Because he really wasn't giving husband, I wasn't getting husband benefits. So that whole situation doesn't
He said he
make
was
sense.
going to pay this and pay that.
No, he said he was going, he didn't actually do
Oh,
it.
he didn't do it? Oh, wow.
No, he was just saying it. That's what I was saying. You get caught up like, oh, for real, you gonna pay? And then when that time comes, I never really asked, but that they be like, oh, I'm a little short. Like, but can I hold $20? I was gonna ask you for $20.
The way my bank account is set up.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. But
Wow.
you know how you feel like somebody is really gonna be there for you? Like, I got you, girl.
You know what? The reason why I was confused is because a lot of men that I've come in contact with have the resources and have the means to, back up what they say.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
They paying bills, they out here paying rent, car notes.
Some of this particular didn't, but yeah,
so,
that's true.
And the thing is that, I will do these things, and it's really unfortunate. I will do these things as long as I have access to your physical access to your body. Mm-hmm. And the unfortunate thing is that, there are women who will come into agreement with that. Mm-hmm. But what I don't think that many of us understand, or, in a traditional setting, in a traditional church setting, really addresses the issue of what happens when two come together like that. I know for years I didn't understand, really what I was doing, being involved with women that weren't my wife. It's a very spiritually dangerous thing to do, and it's very, very damaging. You're doing damage to your spirit, and you don't even realize it. So I wanted to bring that up because a lot of people's behaviors is because they probably got a lot of when you come together, you for real become one. So you dealing with a lot of other people's issues. I'll just say issues. I won't. You dealing with a lot of other people's issues.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, the flip side, because I have ran into people that my discernment really kicked in with those folks when they actually did have the money to pay for everything. I'm like, there is no way that they're going to give me all of this for nothing. Like, there's just no way. So in those cases, I did a little better with versus the people that did not, or this particular person I'm thinking of that did not necessarily have the resources. For whatever reason, I just kind of let my guard down a little more because I didn't think that he was necessarily trying to take advantage initially. Kind of interesting. I'll have to think about that and reflect a little more. But that definitely, your takeaway should definitely be discernment. Dig into that. Also, if you don't have it, I just encourage you to pray about that. Praying is just a conversation with God. And if you still don't feel comfortable with prayer, I encourage you to talk to people that actually know more than you, that are experienced. Get you some advisors, get a team of advisors, because if you don't feel comfortable sharing little bits and pieces about your love life with people that you care about, that's a red flag in itself, especially if you don't feel like you have developed discernment. So you should definitely be able to, if you don't feel like you can talk about a guy or a female that you're seeing to a close relative, I'm not even going to say necessarily a parent, but a close relative that you can actually trust, you don't feel comfortable, that's because you know that they are not really about the right thing. That's what that is. So you don't want them to tell you the truth, basically. So all that being said, I appreciate you tuning in to the final segment, which is the love lesson. And make sure that you check out the full podcast, especially if you just caught a portion of this. The full podcast on it's on Apple, it's on Google Play, Spotify.
Thank you for tuning in to the entire Love Lesson show. I hope you got some value out of the show, and I think right now is a great time for you to learn more about what Love Lessons is really for. So Love Lessons was created in an effort to put together a book. The book has evolved since I initially came up with this idea. So this book is actually going to be for youth between the ages of 16 and I would say about 25. So the book is geared for youth and teaching them how to create sustainable, healthy relationships, right? And as a result, I believe that a lot of people that are older and even young people will have some interesting love stories. So I'm very interested in any love stories that you have or any love lessons that you have. So definitely email them to me at moreinYoucoaching@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at moreinYoucoach as well, and on Facebook as Deetra Hester. And also you can find my husband, Charles Hester. He is also on Instagram as MOG Hester, and then he is on Facebook as Charles Hester. So you can find either one of us on social media platforms so you can submit your love lessons or your love stories. We'd love to hear from you. I also upload the raw version of this particular podcast recording. So if you ever want to catch us live when we're recording, we record on Instagram, and that will be uploaded to the YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel is under Deetra Hester. And also on that same YouTube channel, I do vlogs about beauty and fitness. I love talking about transformation because I'm a transformation coach. So I'm also a makeup artist as well. So any of the ladies that would love to have a beauty coaching sessions, I do offer those for free, especially for those that are interested in purchasing some makeup or trying to figure out a skincare routine. That would be great for you. And those of you that are just needing some inspiration when it comes to fitness, then you will love the YouTube channel, love following me on the Instagram as well. So make sure that if you love this content, you subscribe, and you also leave a 5-star review for the podcast and subscribe to the YouTube channel. And those of you that really would love to have a book right now, I do have one out called There's More in You, How to Get Over It. And you can go to my website, moreinYoucoaching.com, and you can download that free ebook. If you love the material, you love all the content, I do offer coaching programs as well. I offer a course. If you need a complete transformation from the inside out, then that will be a 90-day program. If you just want a few tips or maybe some lessons, I would recommend beauty coaching for the ladies. And then if you just feel like you want to reach out and touch, then feel free to email me any prayer requests. I will be happy to send you a personalized prayer. But again, we really appreciate you tuning in to another Love Lessons with the Hesters.